Hello, everyone, and welcome to Senator's final event, Building the Foundation of Smarter Logistics. Thanks for joining us today. We hope this session is helpful and valuable for you. The Senator project is a European Union-funded initiative with the aim of creating a new urban logistic model for enhancing the sustainability of cities. The project consortium is composed by Correos, who also acts as coordinator, University of Deusto, Ayuntamiento de Zaragoza, Zaragoza City Council, Dublin City Council, Software AG, MTS Transmodal, RINA Consulting, DOTGIS, University College Dublin, Unpost, and Zabala Innovation. After all the speakers have finished, we will start the Q&A session. You can type your questions in the chat anytime, but please mention who your question is addressed to. This will help us get the best answer from the right speaker. We start the session with our project coordinator, Ángela Núñez from Correos.
Thank you, Mariano, and welcome everybody. We are very grateful for the good reception and attendance that this event has had. I can see right now that we are more or less 55 people connected, so good, good to start. We will rise with the different points to the agenda. Please, as Mariano said, don't forget to write your questions on the chat. And we will start. I would like to start the presentation. Please, Mariano, next slide. Thank you. With key aspects and main numbers of the project. First of all, to thank all the partners that we have had, both cities represented by the city councils of Zaragoza and Dublin. We had two logistic operators and posting island and Correos group, mainly Correos Express and Correos Telecom in Spain. Our IT partners that they have done a wonderful work and a big effort, University of Deusto, University College Dublin, Software AG and DOTGIS. MTS Transmodal as urban planification and transport experts, sorry, RINA, and MDS Transmodal as IPR and exploitation, in charge of the IPR and exploitation part. Of course, last but not least, Zabala contributing to the communication working package, the social parts, and supported the coordination team. This project is 54 months. We are finishing this month with 4 million euros budget, 11 partners in 5 different countries, and 2 urban living labs. We also had the opportunity, please next slide, Mariano, to have involved in our project our international experts advisory board with Jose Anson as independent advisor, the University of Westminster represented by Jacques Leonardi, Servicios Postales del Perú as an international logistic operator, TECIR, Zaragoza's Innovation in Retail Center Spain, and Eden City Consulting, all of them contributing to be sure that what we have developed in the project is replicable and useful for any other city. Please, next slide. And we are going to start talking about the big challenge that we try to give a solution here in the project. As you may suppose, every day thousands of people use the internet to buy goods, and thousands of packages are delivered to their destinations in the cities. That's why urban freight companies are diverse, atomized, and connected to urban planners. They often deliver small packages to the same locations using overlapping delivery networks, which occupy up to 40% of motorized roadways. About 25% of gas pollutant emissions in cities are produced by the freight transport, and up to 80% of the population lives exposed to pollution levels higher than the ones permitted by the World Health Organization. Inefficient logistics negatively affect citizens, operators, shippers, and city councils. And this is a great deal of urban space is consumed. There's traffic congestion, accidents, and poor air quality. And we will continue talking about the solution. Center proposed a control tower approach, allowing dynamic planning and ensuring operative optimization through fluent relationships between urban planners, urban-free logistics, and citizen engagement. We will see how we connect all of these stakeholders in the same platform through this event. Talking about the objectives, I've divided, as there's many, into different groups. First of all, to promote better urban mobility governance. This is mainly connecting the logistic data in real time and historical data to the municipalities, helping the cities to have better information and to be able to have better informed decisions. Promote more citizen-centered, helping small business, local markets to be more digitalized and open to different markets. Of course, decreased by 10% of CO2 emissions that we will see later that in some cases we have calculated up to 30% of savings in emissions. Increase urban provisions and reliability of logistic plans, and also ensure the success of all urban logistics. We will see later in the city how data collected from this project is helping the municipalities to improve the sustainability measures that they will be implementing in the logistic plans and the mobility plans. And the second group of objectives, next slide, please. Foster common logistic operation framework. This, as we always try to explain it, how to collaborate among competitors, how logistic companies can collaborate to have better cities and better logistics. So this platform and this solution gives a great opportunity to them to improve this. Also, ensure prior replicability for future actions in Europe. Enable new market opportunities that we have set for small businesses, markets, local businesses. Decrease urban congestion, mainly related to the loading and unloading areas and the management of the curbside in both cities. And increase modal ship up to 10%. We have included this objective in the optimization algorithm that takes into account what type of vehicles is available in the city and giving them priority in determined areas such as low emission zones with electric vehicles and similar. And now I give the floor to Antonio and Miguel that they will explain better the solution. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Ángela. Okay. And as Ángela mentioned, I will present to you one of the main outcomes of the Senator project. But first of all, I'd like to say that today I'm here on behalf of Pilar Elejoste. He cannot speak to you today. That is a pity. But I just to mention that I am on behalf of her, and it's a pity that she cannot be here because she did a really good job leading this, the development of this Senator platform. So let me first contextualize. As Ángela mentioned before, the urban logistics sector is playing a big role, a crucial role in the global economy, mainly because of the growth of e-commerce. But however, even this increase and the impact that is having, however, the optimization of last mile logistics still remains a challenge. In Senator, we address this challenge from different perspectives or from different angles, but one of them is the technological perspective, how we can provide better technologies that can help address these issues. And one of the, let's say, combining different technologies, we developed this Senator ICT platform that, as I will explain later, basically is try to support different stakeholders that are involved in last mile logistics or in urban logistics. So we move to the next slide, please. So in general terms, what is the Senator platform? So basically, the Senator platform is an ICT tool that try to assist the optimization of last mile logistics operation. We develop in the scope of the project, but the idea is not as a tool that will scale up, and the idea is that it can be applied to different places. Okay, but let's say in general terms, it provides the following service. So the first one is the route optimization service that, for example, allows to calculate the most efficient routes and minimize delivery times, transportation cost, or emission, for example, but we will see later more details. It also allows real-time tracking and monitoring. That is how it helps to track what is the current status of parcels. Also, is able to provide full visibility of the status of parcel to along all logistic processes. Apart from that, so this optimization on this route planning that I mentioned before is able to consider at the same time the demand that we have. Also, what are the real-time conditions, for example, in terms of traffic or in terms of incidents, and is able also to perform this resource allocation. Okay, both offline, let's say both in a planning phase and in a strategic phase, but also we will see later in real time. And basically, and then this platform is also able to integrate information or data from external systems that can be from different logistic operators, but also, as we will see later also, it's able to integrate data from the public domain or from the public sector, mainly related to urban infrastructure and some regulatory conditions. So next slide, please. And let's say who is the user or the intended audience of this Senator ICT platform? So we designed this platform thinking in 4 key stakeholders in the logistics sector. The first one are the citizens and freight receivers. The second one are the transport operator. The third one are the logistic operator and shipper. And the fourth one are the city council. That is how are the urban infrastructure owners that this logistic service are using. And this tool is developed in order to support what we call 4 governance schemes. The first one is the user demand planning. The second one is transport planning. The third one is freight and logistic planning. And the last one is the governance scheme related to urban planning. Okay. But as I mentioned, as I said before, later on we will see more details about this. Let's say what is the information that these 4 key stakeholders can see in the platform, and also how we support these 4 governance schemes. So next slide, please. Let's see how we do that. So basically combining different sort of technologies and data. Okay. So basically the Senator platform is a cutting-edge solution designed to optimize logistic management by integrating multiple advanced technologies and data sources. Let's say at the core of this Senator ICT platform, we have the backend, that is the central system that processes all the information, also manage the resources, and coordinate the different platform functionalities. It allows the seamless connection with the external system through APIs, which allow something that is very crucial for this platform, that is the efficient data exchange and task automation. Another relevant component is the message bus that is allow the it's a sort of hub communication that ensure that both internal and external components are synchronized and are able to share data in real time. Okay? And this real-time sharing of data is crucial to ensure the smooth and coordinated logistic operation across the whole process. Then the users can interact with this platform through two main tools. The first one is a mobile app that is designed for the on-go access to the information, and it's mainly for the delivery men and delivery women. And then we also have a dashboard that provides a comprehensive and easy to understand overview of the system activities. Basically, combining these two tools, we are able to ensure and enable the efficient monitoring, decision making, and day-to-day operation. Then, apart from that, we also have a robust database that underpins the flow of the data across the platform that also ensures the secure storing and managing of the data of all the data that is utilized by this software platform. And last but not least, also the Senator includes a blockchain technology to ensure the secure and transparent transactions, and also to ensure the trust and reliability of all the processes. So next slide, please. So as I mentioned before, in the Senator platform, we are supporting 4 governance schemes. And the first one is related to this, what we call this, the first one I mentioned before is demand plan. And the service that supports this demand planning is, we call it the on-demand platform manager. And here, basically, the users can register, manage, and check what is the current status of all the shipments. And this service is also allows to consolidate demand from different operators and allows to match this demand of this different parts that we have available with the different carriers that we also have available in order to ensure to maximize the efficiency, but also to minimize the negative effects of logistics. And using the platform, just to give you some numbers, using this platform, for example, we were able to manage the 18,000 deliveries that Correos has in the Zaragoza urban living lab, more than 35,000 items that are usually delivered by and posting that. So next slide, please. So here we can see, for example, the view of this on-demand platform manager. If we see this image on the right, we see the view from the logistic operator that can see the exact position of the parcels in a specific area. And then on the right, we have the view for example, a city council that can see a heat map of where this demand is distributed across the city. Next slide, please. Then the other scheme, sorry, the other governance scheme that I mentioned was this transport planning, and let's say the service that support this governance scheme is the multimodal fleet manager. Okay, and this service allows the tracking and managing of fleet resources, and also to address or to manage the operational capacity, both offline and both in real time. And basically, this service provides to fleet managers or enable to fleet managers to view different insights about the vehicle characteristics, capacities, and availability. And the nice thing is that we were able to manage different type of fleets, like cargo bike vehicles, trolleys, or postmen, but also different type of, let's say, motorized, like electric vehicles or diesel vehicles. And for example, through this service, we were able to manage more than 250 resources in Zaragoza. We were able to track more than 50 PDAs also in Zaragoza, or also simulated more than 500 resources, delivery resources in Dublin. Next slide, please. And this is a view of this multimodal fleet manager in which, for example, in top part, we can see what is the current position in real time of the different delivery resources, and in the bottom part, also like a more light information about capacity, where this vehicle depart, not the depart from which the vehicle depart, and also some KPIs here on the right part. Next slide, please. Then, as I mentioned before, one of the other governance is keyword is smart logistic planning, and for that we developed this, what we call this smart route manager. And basically, it was designed to support the dispatching phase, not to support the real-time operational logistic operators. And basically, what it does is to monitor in real time the delivery routes, but also dynamic incidents that can alter this on the real-time delivery operations. And through this tool, the logistic operator can check what is the optimized route planning. They can also track in real time what is the status of the vehicles and also the parcels. They can, if there are some incidents, they can also balance reserves. Like, for example, if there is a vehicle breakdown, then other vehicles can take this part that cannot be delivered, and to ensure no more seamless and resilient logistic operations. Okay. For example, using this tool, we were able to track more than 2,000 routes in real time in Zaragoza, and we were able to simulate more than 1,400 routes in Dublin. Next slide, please. So here, for example, we can see on the left the view of the mobile app, which tell the delivery men the order in which they should deliver the different parcels. On the right, the view on the dashboard in which the logistic operator can track the status of the current status of the deliveries and the routes. Next slide, please. And then this is the last service that is able to support this governance key related to urban planning. So basically, what we wanted to do is to utilize all the different data sources that we process in this Senator IT platform, and then provide different insights that can help city councils understand better what is the current status of logistic operation, and how they can, let's say, better plan these, let's say, the urban logistics in their cities. For example, using the platform, we track more than 50, let's say around 58 loading and unloading bays in Zaragoza. We were able to measure more than 7 pollutants also in Zaragoza. And similarly in Dublin, we track more than 45 loading and unloading bays, and also around 8 pollutants in the city Dublin. Next slide, please. So here, this is an interesting view in which we can see how for example, the freight vehicles distribute across the city. Now we can see what are the roads that have more logistic vehicle density, and also what is the distribution of different pollutants in the city. Okay, so next slide. And now, Miguel, the floor is yours to present the Senator dashboard.
Thank you, David. Thank you, Mariano. Well, hello, everyone. I am Miguel Fernández from DOTGIS. We were in charge of the design and development of the dashboard, which is actually the access tool, the window for users to visualize and to interact with the data and services described by David before and generated in the Senator platform. Well, for the creation of the dashboard, we have tried to create a very useful tool. We were very focused on the user. So all the design techniques were drive to detect needs and with an user-centric criteria. Other criteria take it into account were visual clarity and look for an attractive and modern look and feel to create the dashboard as a day-to-day before tool for users. The dashboard is divides the tools into the 4 blocks of services already described by David. Focused on analyzing the demand and the fleet management, the routes planning and the follow-up of them, and finally the urban infrastructure status analysis and monitoring. Additionally, a couple of transversal services were developed. Depending on the profiles and capabilities of each type of user, we can find tools to configure, to edit, to manage the data, as well as to manage the services and the users. Next slide, please. The dashboard, the resulted dashboard allows the user to compute from all the information hosted in the Senator platform, thanks to the use of location-based analysis or GIS analysis that allows cross-referencing information visually and resulting in speeding up decision-making. Using a map permanently in the view, the user always has context about the information. And moreover, many other modular panels and dynamic information is displayed in maps, tables, graphs, and so on. Finally, with tools for searching and filtering information, the user can adapt the visualization each time and for each necessity. The final result is that the user is free to look for, monitor, and analyze logistic operations. Next slide, please. Well, the system is based on the fully customizable service structure and standard web communication for data integration, both from Senator platform and from third parties stakeholders, and a multi-layer structure for user management, allowing different type of level of access to the tool. All these issues generates a fully scalable system that, in addition to the configuration and data management tools, creates a strong collaborative character between users of different types and different type of organizations. Thank you.
Thank you, Antonio. Thank you, Miguel. We start with insights from Urban Living Labs blog with Payal Pandya from Dublin City Council and Philip Colgan from OnPost, who will introduce the Dublin Urban Living Lab case study.
Thank you so much, Mariano. If we move to the next slide. Hi, everyone. My name is Payal Pandya. I work as the business analyst and a project lead in Dublin City Council in the Smart Cities team. And today I'm going to talk about the 3 pilots that we have done and completed in Dublin. The first one is the Urban Consolidation Centers, and today I'm going to talk on behalf of Philip from OnPost. Unfortunately, he couldn't be with us currently, but they have done a lot of good work there, so I'll just try to do justice to them. If we move to the next slide. So an urban consolidation center, just to define what it is a place, or it is a center where deliveries from different from the different logistic providers are consolidated and are delivered into the city center area or in an urban environment. And there is a lot of work that is involved in actually the consolidation part, and I'm just going to go into the details in the next slide. If you could move, Mariana. So the objective of the OnPost was to actually provide the resources for the urban consolidation centers, and OnPost identified 2 areas within Dublin City Centre to trial the parcel delivery. And how would that work is that they selected an urban consolidation center building outside of the urban periphery, and the idea was to consolidate the deliveries from different delivery providers and then make the delivery in the two chosen areas. One was the Grafton Street and one was the Suffolk Street. If we go into the next slide, we would see the Senator zone that we had. The Senator zone was selected specifically because of a good mix that it provided of the residentials and also of the businesses. And you could see the two streets that were selected where the deliveries were to be made. Now, if we move to the next slide, about the consolidation trials. So in May 2021, I think May 2022, we did a big external stakeholder workshop where we invited different delivery and logistics provider. We invited people from Dublin City Council, we invited people from Department of Transport, National Transport Authority, and we got them into a room and we asked them the question that how can we make sure, how would this really work? And would they be interested in really taking part into this trial? And all the companies attended the meeting, and there was a very good discussion on how can we collaborate together, and everyone came together to achieve that one goal of greener logistics, of the greener logistics, of a more smarter Dublin, and to move towards that objective that probably each of the organization have it separately, but how do we make sure that we work together? After the workshop, we had a very good collaboration between different delivery companies, but we realized that there were few obstacles and barriers when it comes to the operational side of the consolidation trial. And that's where the IT challenges comes in. So for example, scanning of the barcode, sending customer alerts. If there is a consolidation between different delivery companies, how would that really work? How would the legal agreements work? How would the companies collect the returns, for example? How would that really work? And all those questions started popping in. I think one thing that we did realize during the urban consolidation trial was that the challenge lies not in the collaboration part, it is the operational side of the whole system that probably could possess a challenge, and that was the case in terms of the urban consolidation center as well. If we move to the next slide, we would see the people who actually came into one room and talked about how can we make this really work. And it was one of the most successful workshops actually we had in the council as well. It was attended by the then Lord Mayor of Dublin, which is Alison Gillen, and she echoed the voice of the room as well on how to work more collaboratively. If we move to the next slide. So the OnPost did several meetings with the several delivery companies, and they also talked to them about how it could really work. The idea was to do like a 1-month pilot initially, but for the pilot's sake, it was a lot of operational challenges that came into the picture, and so OnPost decided to conduct a theoretical trial. So we went into the Senator platform with the dummy data, and we simulated on how it would be and what would be the advantages of consolidating information, consolidating parcels from different logistics sectors. I think one really good thing that came out of that whole pilot was also the simulation that we could do for different scenarios. So for example, decarbonized zone, for example, pedestrianization of the streets. What happens if we do that? We could just see through the simulation instead of doing it in the real time. We could see how it could react and how it would affect the logistics sector. So the theoretical trial actually provided us a lot of insights that probably would have been difficult if we did it on field as well. If we move to the next slide. There were a lot of results from the theoretical trial as well, and that includes the emission reduction and the delivery efficiency as well. There were kilometers saved when the whole idea here is that if there is a delivery coming to your home, instead of 2 or 3 vehicles coming, there would be 1 vehicle delivering the parcel to your place. So that would mean that there are 2 instead of 3, there's just 1 vehicle coming, so 2 vehicles are removed from the road. It could improve the congestion and also the vehicle kilometers traveled in the Dublin city. So that's the whole point of the Senator project, and I think the theoretical trial provided us a very good insights on how this could really look like in the real time. If we go to the next slide. So the conclusion that we had is that it was great. I think the best part about the project was the collaboration that we saw during the project itself on how the different logistics and the delivery companies came together, how we could make the consolidation really work. If it has to work, what it be required? We got a good insight on how the IT system would behave if we try to introduce a new system on how the logistics could be improved in a city like Dublin as well. I think we started looking into different use cases and the best case scenarios as well, and we realized that Dublin Airport actually follow this model. So I think there was something for us to learn there as well. Now if we move to the next slide. So hopefully we'll be able to work with OnPost in the future as well. But yeah, the operation has been running successfully since past 4 years, and yeah, we'll try to do that in the future as well. If we move to the next slide. That's just the pictures from the Dublin itself. But now I'm going to talk about the second pilot that we did, and we very fondly call it as kicking chaos from the curb, but it is what it is actually is just the virtual curbside management. That's the objective that we have, which we want to do, that is kicking chaos from the curb itself. With the Senator project, we wanted to optimize the last mile deliveries and the last mile logistics. And the questions that we were asking ourselves is how can we make it more sustainable? How can we make it more efficient? And that's where we started looking into the loading bays itself. And we realized that we don't know where these loading bays are. And that was the very first question that we went into this pilot, that where are these loading bays? And we realized that everything, including the loading bays on the curbside, actually affects everything else that is there on the curbside. And the curbs in Dublin are being used for different purposes. It could be the cycle lanes, putting in the cycle lanes, putting in the bus lanes, putting in the loading bays, putting in the parking bays. We want to put the planters there. We want to put the poles there. We want to put seatings there. We want to create the bus stops there. We want to create the sheltered bus stops there. And we want to have the cycle parking there as well. So we're talking about the same space, and we want to use it for very different reasons, and all takes priority for that space. So the question that we were asking ourselves was that how do we make the use of that space more efficient and more sustainable? If we move to the next slide, we would see on how long of a journey it has been. We started looking into the pilots from 2021, and we did a lot of stakeholder engagements. We started talking to the stakeholders on ground. We started talking to people within DCC, and we started asking them questions on what their real challenges were and how can we improve them. If we move to the next slide, we would, as you've already seen in the slides from OnPost, that this is the Senator area for us. This was the pilot zone for us. What we wanted to do was to test different curbside management solutions within this area, and that included the different curbside management platforms, but also different surveying techniques. And if we move to the next slide, we could see that how we divided the Senator zone into 2 parts. to test out 2 different technologies, and one was pallet side 1, one was pallet side 2. And if we move to the next slide, we would see how we used 2 different technology. One was the mobile mapping, and the other one was the LiDAR data collection. The whole idea behind this is to understand what would work for Dublin. How much time does it take, what kind of data it collects, what kind of expenses are involved in the surveying, and things like that. So we could compare it with the 2 sites that we did the work with. So we worked with 2 companies, Appiway and CurbIQ, who did an amazing job of creating 2 different kind of curbside management platform, and we realized that both of them worked perfectly. If we move to the next slide, we would see how the 2 areas that we did. We mapped out more than 60 kilometers of the curb length, and we collected more than 4,000 data points from each of the pilot locations. I think it was quite surprising for us, the amount of data that is present on the curbside, and at one point we had to make a decision on what we include within the scope and what we exclude from the scope in terms of what kind of data is collected as well. Those are the screenshots from the 2 platforms as well, which worked out really well for us. If we move to the next slide, we would see that there were several challenges. I think the purpose of doing a pilot is to understand what kind of challenges we can tackle in the real life situations. And in terms of curbside management, it was technical, regulatory, and other kind of challenges. And I think one of the biggest one was keeping the curbside data up to date, because surveying is a static exercise. Once we do it after 6 months, it becomes old. So how do we make sure that it is kept up to date? All the data that is there on the ground is also there available digitally. And then there were also the issue of identification of the project owner, because the curbside pieces of the curbside project cuts across so many stakeholders that it becomes really difficult to identify who could be the specific project owner for that, who can take the responsibility of it. And I think one more issue that we realized was that there were no clear bylaws or regulations to maintain the curbside data. So how do we make sure that any municipality actually maintains the digital curbside? If we move to the next slide, we did tackle at least one of the challenges, and that was keeping the curbside data up to date. We realized that it could be done 3 ways. Either we update it internally, either we do it externally, or do we make it a combined approach. So we took the easiest way out. We did it externally. I think the ideal would be to do it internally, but that would require a lot of process changes. So we decided to do it on a regular basis, on a quarterly basis. And we took help from a wonderful company called Anaculum, and we decided to do a quarterly survey and get it updated, not just on the platform that we were piloting, but also the internal DCC platforms, the central asset management repository that we have. If we move to the next slide, I'm going to talk about the smart loading bays quickly. And if we move to the next slide, we could see the whole map of the Dublin area where the sensors were installed. So we installed around 49 sensors in the 9 loading bay locations. The loading bay locations were given by the DCC themselves, well, the internal stakeholders in the council, and also on post, because those were the most busy loading bays, and it would have been really cool to know how they really work. If we move to the next slide, we could see the application itself and how it would look like. The whole idea was to make the information of the availability of the loading bays to the available to the drivers, to the delivery drivers themselves, and help them navigate it if possible. Now, the navigation part probably isn't required by the delivery drivers because they know the city in and out, but I think it helped them to know whether the loading bay is available or not. The very odd number, the 49 sensors, was because of the fact that the loading bays lengths are different, and hence the sensors that go into it sometimes vary in number as well. But we tested this out with OnPost, and it worked out fine for them. On the left side, you could see the sensors being installed, and according to the delivery drivers, it also helped them, and they would like to see it rolled out across the city. And yeah, we could talk about it probably later. But if we move to the next slide, I'm just going to highlight few of the Dublin's achievements over the past 4 years of the pilots that we have done. If we move to the next one, I think the first one is the selection of the Senator project, of the work that we are doing under Senator as a Pathfinder program. And the Pathfinder is forms a key part of the implementation of the National Sustainable Mobility Plans. Under Pathfinder program, there were 35 projects selected in all of Ireland by Department of Transport that could help us achieve the target of 50% reduction in carbon emissions in Ireland, and curbside management and micro consolidation centers were a part of that. If we move to the next slide, we were also, the Senator was also included as a part of the implementation plan of the Moving Together strategy, which is a strategic approach to improve efficiency in transport system Ireland. And there were also 2 case studies included in the strategy document itself. One was on urban consolidation centers, and one was on the curbside management pilot that we did. If we move to the next slide, we would see the work that we have done with the stakeholders. You've already seen this picture in the slide as well, but it was the establishment of the Freight Services and Delivery Working Group that happened because of the Senator project, and it is still going on independently of Senator. And I think it would be really useful for the council to have that direct connection with the Freight and Services group. And then we also have done a lot of internal engagement within the council. And if we just click one more time, we could actually see we are actually developing a curbside management study, which consolidates all the learnings and the challenges that we have had during the 4 years of the work that we have done on the project. And I think that is it if we move to the next one. But if you have any questions, I'm more than happy to take them at a later point, or you can contact me separately. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Payal. Let's hear now about the Zaragoza Urban Living Lab from Laura Pernias from Correos and Carlos López from Zaragoza City Council.
Good morning. My name is Laura from Correos, as Mariano said, and we will present the insights from Urban Living Labs from Zaragoza. I give the floor to my colleague Carlos, who is going to start the presentation.
Hello, thank you very much. Zaragoza has established itself as a strategic logistics hub in Europe, and it is privileged localization and advanced transport infrastructure. Situated is a key point between Madrid, Barcelona, Valencia, and Bilbao. It acts as a fundamental hub for the trade of distribution of goods. A key element of this position is the Zaragoza Logistic Platform, Plaza, the largest land logistics center in Europe, which combines road, train, and air transport, facilitating efficient national and international connectivity. The city also stands out for its commitment to innovation and sustainability in logistics. Projects such as Senator, the future European hypernetwork, in which Zaragoza will be a strategic node, or initiatives such as Zaragoza emission-free and the Algeciras-Zaragoza rail motorway reinforce its commitment to efficient mobility and the reduced emissions. In addition, Zaragoza has been selected by the European Commission as one of the 100 smart and climate-neutral cities, with the objective of achieving carbon neutrality by 2030. Within this framework, it is promoting sustainable urban mobility plan to reduce pollution and enables to use the more environmentally friendly means of transport. Next slide, and I give the floor to Laura.
Thank you. Well, as Antonio and Miguel has presented on the presentation, on the former presentation, we have used a platform to prove their functionalities. To test the platform functionalities for pilots were carried out in Zaragoza to address two major problems linked to last mile logistics. On the one hand, optimizing the distribution of goods in the last mile, and on the other hand, providing improving the management of public loading and unloading spaces. Pilot 1 was local market consolidation and cross-docking. This pilot was divided in 4 phases. In the first phase, all shipments of 1 day of operations of Correos and Correos Express were introduced into the optimization platform with the aim of comparing the routes obtained with the actual routes carried out by the staff of both companies, analyzing the data standardization needs for the optimizer to work properly, as well as quantifying the savings obtained through the optimization. In the second phase, the pilot test the planning system, including the need to include new orders from markets. For this, shipments data from Correos system were introduced manually to the platform. At this stage, actual data from previous days' performance was used to validate planning models and test new planning strategies. Once it was validated that the optimization system could handle this new planning by including new collection and delivery points, a pilot could be carried out by simulating a real operation with data from deliveries already made. In the third phase, a real day's operation of a Correos delivery unit and Correos Express activity was simulated. Using actual delivery data, the impact of the network merge was simulated and assessed. Merging transport networks between different operators is not simple, not only because of complex technological integrations, but also because of existing legal, labor, and competition regulatory constraints, among others. This has been the main impediment to be able to carry out the merger of networks as it is conceived and prepared in Senator, freely between different logistic companies and without restrictions. Therefore, this functionality has only been tested theoretically in the Senator environment. The last phase of this pilot consists of a delivery day with real Correos and Correos Express delivery. For this purpose, real-time information from sensorized vehicles in Zaragoza for postal deliveries was integrated into the platform, together with real-time information from the devices used for delivery by the postman. Pilot 2 consisted of a network balance. This pilot aimed to explore two scenarios in which load exchange could take place. On the one hand, within the same operator, in the event of a breakdown, an incident, or a delay on the route. And in the other hand, the transfer of freight between different operators. The third pilot consisted of regional market consolidation. The aim of this pilot was to explore how to stimulate consolidation for regional market Zaragoza to serve to small retailers by simplifying the number of connections between the central market and the different local markets in the city. And the last pilot, who was carried out by the City Council, was smart management for loading bays around public markets and in strategic parking areas in Zaragoza. This last pilot involved the installation of sensors and the use of software for management of parking bays in several strategic points of the city, as well as the development of a mobile app to reserve these parking bays and control the correct use of loading and unloading bays. Next slide, please. The main challenges in carrying out these pilots were as follows. First of all, data collection. Obtaining the data from Correos system was not simple, as thousands of items are processed daily, and although these are registered items, sometimes the quality of the data is uneven. Anonymization. In order to use the data obtained, it was anonymized to comply with the RGPD. In the case of consignments, the consignment code was anonymized by replacing two digits with the character SE. The names and the surnames of the sender and the receiver were not shared, and the postal addresses were replaced by GPS coordinates with a margin of error of around 5 meters. In the case of postmen of Zaragoza, they had to sign an informed consent. And although the data from vehicles and PDAs was extracted and used during the pilots, anonymization guaranteed that the mail carriers could not be identified. As said, other of the main challenges was geolocation, as Correos usually use and work with postal addresses, and transforming them into GPS coordinates was a technology development challenge. Also, the data quality, because the quality of the data in the postal operators system is not always optimal. This poses a challenge for the use of the algorithm, as data such as weight, size, or volume are not always available, but they were mandatory for the operation of the algorithm, as they are essential for calculating the volume of occupation of delivery delivery vehicles in an optimal way. Also, optimization time was a main challenge because of the large number of shipments that logistic operators handle on a daily basis. In pilot 1A, this time took hours, but thanks to Deusto and their developments, it was reduced to less than an hour in pilot 1D. Regarding the results of the pilots, in pilot 1A, once the results were analyzed, the main conclusion of the pilot is that at a city level, each logistic operator optimized their own routes efficiently, and there is not much room for improvement. But as we saw in pilot 1B, if we get down to the routes individually, they can be improved up to a 32% of less kilometers traveled, and up to a 6% less of time of delivery, which impacts directly in the reduction of CO2 emissions. For pilot 1C, the results of the optimization were validated. As the route proposed by the optimization system were longer, the operational time was similar to the real routes, and the shipment work increased by a 30.4%. For pilot 1D, this pilot was carried out in real time. However, due to the optimization times, approximately 1 hour, data from a previous day was used. This pilot proved that the system works. It allows to follow the routes in real time and allows unexperienced mail carriers to improve the efficiency, as the mobile app shows the routes and their position. Therefore, the system was validated, including the incident module and the mobile app. For pilot 2, as mentioned, this pilot explored 2 different cases. This pilot was carried out theoretically due to the aforementioned restrictions. However, technological developments carried out to simulate both on the dashboard and in the mobile application. In addition, this pilot was used to test functionalities such as the visualization and resolution of incidents, or the collection of new segments once the route had already been initiated. In pilot 3, once analyzed the situation of Merca Zaragoza and around the local markets, it was concluded that in numerous occasions the vehicles that entered and left the central market did not use the 100% of their load capacity, provoking an increase of routes and vehicles in the surroundings of the retail markets. Therefore, the consolidation of shipments was proposed as a solution, which could mean optimizing the load, reducing the routes, and therefore the vehicles accessing the places, and considerably reducing greenhouse gas emissions and therefore reducing the environmental impact. Sorry. For the results, I give the floor to my colleague Carlos. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. About the analysis of the lighting and underlying zones in Zaragoza, urban logistic is fundamental from Zaragoza, but the planning of goods transport has been secondary to passenger mobility. Generality in events and unloading zones. Currently, the city has 779 loading and unloading zones, the ability of which doesn't always coincide with the real demand. In the framework of the Senator project, the City Council has assented this level of service through data analysis and querying theory, identifying high congestion and historic center and commercial district such as Delicias, San Jose, and Las Fuentes to improve efficiency. Data-driven planning, the implementations of urban micro-hub and smart technology are proposed to optimize last mile distribution. In relation with the managing of loading and unloading in marketplace, municipal market, Zaragoza municipal markets such as the San Vicente Paul markets and the central markets face loading and unloading problem due to high demand of inefficient use of space, congestion at peak hours, irregular distribution of occupancy, and lack of control heightened optimal manager. As part of the Senator project, Zaragoza has implemented intelligent sensors to monitor these areas, allowing use patterns to be analyzed and detect times of high demands and low occupancy. With this real-time information, the tables can be optimized, congestion reduced, and pollution emission minimized, improves operation efficiency and certainty in the city center. Next slide, please. And the conclusion and result of Zaragoza City Council, thanks to analysis of the current state of loading and unloading zones and the monitoring carried out on the municipal market within the Senator project, Zaragoza City Council has accurate data to develop evidence-based planning strategies. This will allow for adjusting regulation, optimize the number of space for landing and unlandings, and adapting timetables to improve efficiency. In conclusion, the results also show that the importance of smart technology in the urban logistics is a key to improve efficiency, optimize planning, and mobility through more sustainable mobility in Zaragoza. Moreover, optimizing the management of loading and unloading zones will not only benefit the operating of urban transport and distribution, but will also contribute to the objectives of sustainability and emissions reduction, in line with the city mobility strategy. Thank you very much, and I give the floor to Laura.
Okay. Thank you very much.
I was silenced. Sorry. Regarding the results and conclusions from Correos, one of the things that we have seen during the pilots is that logistic operators optimize their own routes efficiently. However, Senator could be the solution to avoid overlapping last-mile logistic networks, as it enables real-time management. Furthermore, as demonstrated in one of the pilots, Senator could be the seat of cooperation between different operators and stakeholders. Currently, one of the biggest problems is the lack of standardization of information, which, although not easy to solve, would simplify operations considerably. And last but not least, the integration of artificial intelligence and blockchain can be an effective means of securing information and operations on the platform. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Laura and Carlos. We finish this block with Naikari Diosdado and Silvia Agrafojo both from Zabala Innovation, who will talk about the stakeholder engagement in the urban living labs and the lessons learned.
Thank you, Mariano. So I'm Silvia Rafojo, part of the Zabala Innovation team, as Mariano said, and together with my midnight Kari, we will be speaking about the stakeholder engagement process that has been developed within the Senator project. And so if we can go to the next slide, I will be speaking about a little bit of inspirational part, I will say, of the project, just to explain which is the relevance or how we do understand which is the significance of the stakeholder engagement in the project. And then later on, Naikari will be speaking a little bit about the main insights or results from our work, which has been the stakeholder engagement and social impact assessment. So we decided to start with an inspirational phrase, which is, for a project, this part was included by us, or a company to be successful, it will have to manage its stakeholders properly. We thought that this was a too logical phrase, I will say, sentence, but for those that work in innovation in this kind of projects, you know that this approach has been included or is being part of the innovation projects since very recently times. Currently, it has been taken into account in a lot of projects, but not since it was first origined, which we can see it was 40 years ago. We started speaking about this kind of concepts, and we think that maybe it can look too logical, but I will say that it's a practical view, or that it's been applied since very few years, and so that even if it can look or seem logical, I will say that its application is very modern. And so that not only that we are speaking about innovative solutions in technical terms or technological terms, we're speaking as well about social innovation in this kind of projects. So if we go to the next slide, we wanted to speak a little bit about the stakeholder engagement in the Senator project process. So as you can see here, this is our consortium or partnership, which is all the entities that are taking part in the Senator project. So this is a very common, I would say, common tradition or activity that we are making. It's like we are always speaking with the same entities, with the same people, and we are, I would say, always thinking about the performance of the project, and this is very important as well. But sometimes these kind of projects do not take into account that there are a lot of stakeholders involved during the whole process of the project. If we go to the next slide, we can see, for instance, that in the case of Senator, we are speaking about companies, media, governments, employees working in all these entities, the communities living, consuming in this area, the users of the platform, of the solutions, and a lot of stakeholders taking part in this kind of innovative processes. And even if they are not a direct part of the consortium or I would say that the team that is working on the performance on the project, the solution, they are also involved in the solution. And actually, if we go to the next slide, we can see that in Senator, this approach or this view was already considered when it started, because if we look to the project objective, the main objectives of the project, we can read, okay, with the solution, we want to provide 4 governance schemes for urban planning policies. We can highlight words like governance, urban policies, and with these kind of words, we can already assume that we are taking into account that, okay, we are constructing a solution, but for this solution, we need the view and the work and the involvement of very different stakeholders. But in order to have a really good solution, we need to involve more people, more entities than those that are already included in the project, like the consortium of the partnership. And actually, we go to the next slide, we can see that within the specific objectives that were already explained by Ángela, apart from highlighting this part of providing governance schemes, we already mentioned that we wanted to involve the citizenship, that we wanted to involve more people, stakeholders, to make the solution socially inclusive. Yeah, Naikari will be speaking about this, but actually the idea is to, okay, we are creating a solution, but which is the main goal? The main goal is to have a better governance on these urban schemes. And so it was mentioned that it was very important for the project to promote more citizen-centered and socially inclusive logistics services. So I think that in this sense, from the very beginning of the project, we already took into account that the stakeholders must be part of the procedure, of the designing of the solution, of the designing on or of the objectives of the project, and so for all the main objectives of the project. And if we go to the next slide, please. This is the technique that we wanted to use just in order to make this brief and easy to understand, because with this, Naikari will be explaining what we have done in the project. This is the 5 W's technique, just to explain, okay, so what have we done with this stakeholder engagement process and with the social impact assessment process. So Naikari will be answering to who, what, when, and where, why we have done all this procedure with the stakeholders. So Naikari, the floor is yours.
Great, thank you very much, Sylvia. Then we can go to the first W, please. That's why have we involved the stakeholders in the project and in our processes? First, for better decision making, we needed the information to make informed decisions about how we were gonna do and work in the project. Of course, also thinking about the sustainability of results. We want our solutions to be used after the project is also completed. So for this, we have taken into account the social acceptance, let's say, of the results we have developed, and also taking into account that the solution have no negative effects for other stakeholders. Also, of course, for the transparency of what we have done in the project. This also will help with the legitimacy of what we have done, and also showing that we have taken into account the various stakeholders' opinions and that they're informed and so on. So this is not something that we have done just because we wanted to, right? We have taken informed decisions that will have positive impact in everyone. So that's the why. Then if we go to the who, we'll see which are the stakeholders that we have taken into account in the processes. We have the citizens, of course, that Sylvia has spoken about, and our other colleagues have also mentioned. We, of course, have the city councils in Dublin and Zaragoza city councils for Senator. We have also taken into account the logistic operator and transport agencies, Correos and Amposts in our case. And in the specific case of Zaragoza, we all have also taken into account the markets as a central piece of the stakeholders, in this case, Mercado Central and San Vicente. So, if we continue with when and where, our next slide. When and where have we taken into account the stakeholders on when have we worked with them, let's say. First, we have consulted them and gathered feedback from them. This is first to keep them informed, but also to gather information from them, as I have said, to make those decisions and to have better decision making. And also, in this case, for the validation of the results of the methodology that we have developed for the social acceptance and the measurement of the social acceptance and the social impact of the project, that I will speak about it at the end of this presentation. And why did we do this? This is for the adaptation and flexibility of our solution. We want these stakeholders to use the solution and to have a positive impact from the solutions we have developed in Senator. So it was really important to have this information and to make informed decision making and to validate the results with them, to make sure, as I have already spoken about, to make sure that the project is sustainable once it's also finished. So now I'm going to speak about the next W, that is the what. So what have we done to keep the stakeholders involved and to gather information, to make decisions, and so on? First, of course, we identify and map the stakeholders we a work team. Who do we want to contact? Who do we need to contact? Who is going to be impacted by the project? Then we made efforts to engage the stakeholders, of course. This we did through co-creation sessions, so they also felt that they were not only informing us, but making decisions for themselves and having impact in the solution of the projects. Then, of course, we have also done the analysis of the needs of the stakeholders and the opportunities they have to use the solutions, to keep us informed, to make decisions, and so on. And with this information, we have defined and implemented a co-creation methodology so that we can assess the social impact of the project. This is what is the impact that the project has at a social level, let's say. So with this, if we go to the next slide, that is also the last one. What is the result of this stakeholder engagement in the project? With this, we have co-defined with the stakeholders a methodology, as I have already said, to assess the social impact of the Senator project as a whole. So what is our approach? What we have created is an indicator framework with indicators that are related to environmental, economic, and the cultural sustainability pillars. So we have created a methodology with at least an pretty extended list of indicators so that they can be selected and adapted to measure this impact. And we don't have here like the list of all the indicators because it is really long, but just for you to know that we are taking into account this environmental, economic, and cultural pillars. And with it, what we have created is the methodology that can also be used once the project has ended. In this case, we had some meetings, and we have shown this methodology, for example, to the city councils, so they can gather information on the use of the Senator results once the project has ended. In this case, Payal, for example, has already explained that we have done some theoretical trials. Originally, we wanted to make this measurement within the project. It has not been possible, but we try to be sure that the methodology is going to be used once the project is finished, because we weren't able to do it within the project, but at least we are really happy with the results of the methodology. We do think it's going to be really useful. And just some small information about the structure we have used for the methodology. We, for once, have these indicators that in groups of stakeholders. These are the ones I already mentioned: the council, the district operations, and citizenships and markets. So we have these indicators that can be selected by stakeholders, but also they are grouped by categories. So if we want to measure like a specific impact of the project, it can also be done, because the categories we have are public participation for once, the well-being, and citizen empowerment, and also the social cohesion. So with this, we hope that we have created a methodology that will be useful also once we have closed the project, and that it will also be used in the future to see the impact of the project, of the Senator project, in the long term. Because at the end of the day, what we want to do is not just to have the project, the results used like in the 4 years we have been working, for almost 5 years now, right? But to make sure that the sustainability of the project is kept for the long run. So I think that's all from our side.
We try to be brief.
Yeah, and also, of course, if you have any question, feel free to put
write
them
it on the chat.
the chat, and we will see them and then answer the final question. So thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you, Naikari and Silvia. Next block will be Beyond Senator Exploitation of Results and Future Steps, which will be introduced by Chris Rowland from MDS Transmodal.
Good morning. It's a great pleasure to be here this morning to talk about the cold-hearted discipline of economics and how economics has been applied to the Senator project. Next slide, please. So we've seen a couple of great quotes already. This is a quote from someone a little bit less famous than Mark Twain. It's E.W. Dijkstra, who was a computer scientist, programmer, software engineer, mathematician, and he also wrote essays on scientific subjects. And he says that, or wrote that, as economics is known as the miserable science, software engineering should be known as the doomed discipline. Now, a little bit surprising that I wouldn't regard software engineering as doomed at the moment. It seems as if it's taking over the world. But I think it is true to say that economics is probably still a bit of the miserable science, in that our role in the project was essentially to look at the money and see where the benefits are from the project and how a future potential company called Senator Inc. could prosper in the future and exploit the results. So Dijkstra is really important in the discipline that MDS Transmodal is involved in, which is transport economics and transport modeling, because he invented a shortest path algorithm, which is a way of finding a way through a transport network. And he also, when he wrote his essays, he used to pretend to sell his theorems, his mathematical theorems, through a fictitious company called Mathematics Inc. Whereas this morning, I'd like to explain to you why Senator Inc. could actually become a reality. So I'm going to be talking about what the project's created, how what's being created is useful in terms of key exploitable results, talk a little bit about competition to what Senator has produced, and how Senator has some competitive advantage, and therefore why would a customer buy the Senator platform? What are the benefits from it that you can monetize? Which leads on to a brief introduction to the business plan for this company, Senator Inc., and what might happen after the project. Next slide, please, Mariana. So what's been created, first of all? Well, we have please, all the technologists, please forgive me if this is too simplistic, but we have what we're calling the Senator platform with four main elements. You've got a back end, which allows data to be input into the software platform, and you can pose problems which the software can resolve. There is an algorithm or algorithms that allows the platform to try to optimize and provide the perfect solutions. There's a messaging bus which allows the software to communicate with external stakeholders, either by providing data to the Senator platform or to receive messages from it. And finally, there's the dashboard, which allows the outputs to be visualized in two main ways. First of all, as Miguel was explaining earlier, geographically, so you can see where things are on the map, and also in terms of key performance indicators. I think about 80 KPIs were defined and can be presented by means of the dashboard. So that's what's been created or invented. Next slide, please, Mariana. Thank you. So what are the actual key, the key exploitable results? Key exploitable results are there are four in total. The first one was really what the project set out to do. It was trying to plan the daily deployment of vehicles and delivery staff based on optimized routings. And I think the particularly innovative aspect of it was the allowing collaboration, so allowing more than, it was specifically designed to allow more than one operator to be involved and trying to optimize deliveries. And again, slightly nervous as an economist to talk about technology readiness levels, but I think it's about TRL 7 prototype, so not ready to be commercialized, but quite a long way up the scale. And then two key exploitable results which probably weren't really the objective, but have emerged from the project as potentially being useful. The first of all is the idea that it can be used as a kind of simulation tool. It was not designed to be that, but certainly we've seen in both urban living labs in Zaragoza and in Dublin, there has been an element of simulation where nothing physically has happened, but you've been able to set up scenarios and compare what happens in those scenarios against some kind of baseline. And I would argue that's to TRL5, so it's been validated in a relevant environment using data from two cities. And finally, another thing emerged really from colleagues in Correos using the Senator platform on the ground at street level in Zaragoza, was the idea that it could also be used as a training tool for urban logistics, particularly for staff who have to go out on routes and have to learn the best routes that they can follow from day one when they've just joined a delivery company. And again, it has been tested in the relevant environment of Zaragoza, and therefore it's about TRL5. And finally, final sort of set of key exploitable results were some key policy lessons on collaboration in logistics, highlighting some of the key commercial and legal problems to collaboration that technology can't easily resolve. And Payal referred to those earlier in Dublin, things like the need to spend quite a lot of money on data integration so that people can provide data to the platform relatively easily. Concerns about giving data to a potential competitor, concerns about by giving information or handing our parcels over to a competitor, are we breaching EU competition law? Quite practical, legal and commercial issues such as that. Next slide, please. And yeah, it'd be nice to think there was no competition out there for what Senator has produced, but that's not the case. The large parcel delivery companies, so the Amazons, UPSs of this world, they have their own in-house software, which is designed for route optimization. So they are seeking to, particularly, I would argue, minimize their costs, but also along the way, minimize environmental emissions as well. And a top priority for them is to deliver their parcels on time. The problem with these software, things like Condor, for example, which Amazon uses and has developed in-house, is that they are not for sale. They're not available to third parties. But there is some third-party software which is available for people to buy, which are supposed to optimize delivery routes. So, what are the unique selling points of Senator? First, I think is that the whole platform was designed to allow collaboration between logistics operators to collectively optimize their delivery routes and minimize their costs and environmental impacts. And we've seen examples of that in both Zaragoza and in Dublin as to how the platform can be used in that way, including the concept of consolidation, which we'll come to in a minute. And secondly, there's a much bigger focus on the potential role of city authorities and the public sector generally operating in the interests of society and how they can facilitate urban logistics, including testing the impact of potential regulatory interventions. As Payal was explaining earlier, in Dublin, the Senator platform was used as a simulation tool to see what the impact would be of introducing a consolidation centre in the centre of Dublin. What would happen compared to a baseline? So it's a really useful tool to develop for sustainable urban logistics plans or as part of sustainable urban mobility plans. Next slide, please. And so why would a customer buy the Senator platform? And I'm afraid I'm going to introduce you to a little bit of transport economics. Essentially, it's not a little bit categoric, this, but in general terms, if you compare the costs without Senator with the cost of you when you've used it. And if you've got a reduction in your costs through using Senator, you result in a positive benefit, and you're basically really happy. And the two main kinds of benefits to potential customers of a Senator platform are as follows. Where user costs are reduced in urban logistics, and by user costs, we mean the financial costs which are experienced by the parcel delivery companies in urban logistics. So it's very important to them. If Senator can help them reduce their costs, there's a big benefit or a significant benefit to them. Now, I've said that that's therefore relevant to the operators, but it's also relevant to the public sector, for the simple reason that those user costs will generally be competed through to the prices that are paid ultimately by you and me in the shops, or when we buy things from Amazon or wherever. Secondly, the other broad type of benefit to potential customers of the Senator platform are what transport economists call non-user costs. These are the costs which are not included in the price that is charged to the costs of the logistics operators. Things like the impact on society of traffic congestion, the impact of emissions of all kinds, including carbon dioxide. So it's looking at the cost of climate impacts, and these can be quantified and are particularly relevant to the public sector in that these are the benefits which in theory the public sector could pay for on behalf or secure on behalf of society as a whole. Next slide, please. So we've seen the evidence from the urban living labs. I'm looking at this from a sort of hard-nosed economic point of view or commercial point of view. So in Zaragoza, we saw various use cases, but there's 1B, I think it was, is the one that we use for our analysis of costs and benefits. This is where the delivery routes appear to be based on the customers, the shippers' perceived requirements, and particularly in terms of delivery, the order of deliveries being made, and it was relatively inefficient in terms of a particularly suboptimal solution. But with Senator, it was possible to show that deliveries could significantly reduce costs, vehicle distances, and therefore emissions. And secondly, in Dublin, the platform was used as a kind of simulation model to look at the potential impact of consolidation on logistics. So the situation without Senator is there's no collaboration. So in Dublin, all the big parcels operators have distribution centres on the outskirts of Dublin. They load up their vans, typically, which then all drive into the centre of Dublin. They're competing fiercely with each other to provide delivery services on time at the lowest possible cost, but there is duplication of routes. Whereas with Senator, the case was, or the scenario was tested whereby all those operators collaborated by sending parcels in trucks to a specialist consolidation centre close to the city centre, where the parcels were passed through this warehouse effectively and put into full vans, if you like. And this would have the impact of reducing the overall vehicle kilometres and emissions, but not necessarily the actual cost to the operators. Next slide, please. So the basis of the business plan, as I've said, for a potential Senator Inc. is that quantified benefits can be shown by the use of the Senator platform compared to the existing position. And looking at those two use cases I was just describing, what came out was, in Zaragoza, you got a very large user benefit per parcel of all getting on for €1. That was because it was relatively inefficient, and by making it more efficient, the cost of delivering each parcel could be very significantly reduced. And using, in addition, using a methodology for user benefits developed by the Department for Transport in the UK, you could add another 2 cents to get a total net benefit per parcel of 95 cents. In Dublin, the user benefit per parcel was a negative 4 cents. So there was additional cost from the consolidation scenario. That's simply because there's a cost involved in putting each parcel through the consolidation center, and overall there's a net cost. Secondly, but on the other hand, there was quite a significant non-user benefit. So there were environmental benefits from the consolidation process, providing a net positive benefit from using the center platform. So the total estimated benefit was 14 cents per parcel, split roughly between 45% user costs and 55% to society. And that adds up to, might not sound a lot, but it amounts to €3 per person per annum. That is a huge amount of benefit which could be facilitated by Senator Inc. If a company was set up to exploit this opportunity. Of course, the benefit is not direct. So it's not as if Senator could claim a very large percentage of the 0.14 euros of benefit. The reason it's indirect is simply that by using the software, you don't immediately get the benefits. You often have to do something physically, you have to change the way you operate, but it at least shows the way. Next slide, please. So to conclude, we've demonstrated that, or we think that there are some key exploitable results from the inventions which have been defined. We found evidence of potential benefits, and we've been able to quantify them. This suggests that there is a potential business opportunity for Senator Inc. It's possible to quantify based on a number of assumptions how big that opportunity is. And one of my roles within the project was as chairman of the exploitation board. And although obviously these things are a little bit confidential, there are likely to be some discussions between some of the parties following the end of the project on potential business opportunities. So that's all from me. I hope you found the application of the dismal science to the doomed discipline interesting over the last few minutes. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Chris. For the closing remarks, we give the floor again to Ángela Núñez from Correos.
Thank you, Mariano, and thank you, Chris. Before going through all the results, I wanted to mention that everything can be consulted on the website. So to all the audience that is listening to us can find some deliverables, those that are open, for example, mainly related, for example, to the pilots or any other, on the website in the documents part. So if we go through the next slide, please, Mariano. Thank you. Although some of the conclusions have been said all over the presentation, I'd like to highlight some points just at the end. We strongly believe that this solution brings great value as it allows logistic operators to share data with cities, facilitating visibility of logistic data in the form of a control tower in real time and in an aggregated and anonymized way. So the companies are not assuming risk on data sharing, and cities are getting valuable insights. Data sharing contributes to have better cooperation, information, and solutions for better cities. So this has to be part of the future. Also, Senator has facilitated the management and digitalization of loading and unloading areas Given and demonstrating that these solutions contribute to reduce traffic congestion and are a very useful tool for the cities to the routes that traffic associated to finding a place to park the vehicle and make some deliveries. Collaboration between competitors or logistic companies that are competing requires bilateral agreements that establish the restrictions or rules that has to be followed in this collaboration in terms of laboral conditions, quality in the delivery, procedures, for example, what to do with lost shipments that we have seen in both urban living labs and pilots. This has been easier in the Spanish pilot because Correos and Correos Express were both different companies but on the same matrix. So this has been key for the development of the pilots as it settles the basis of this collaboration. Compliance with the data protection recommendation and restrictions, standardization and integration have been one of the major challenges that we have gone through all of the projects. Informed consents have to be signed for all delivery personnel in Zaragoza, we mentioned in the Spanish pilot. Standardization, what's the minimum amount of data and information that we need to share with both cities and other companies if we want to make this collaboration a reality. And this has been hardest for the postal operators because different types of shipments had different data quality information associated. So having some standardized information for all the deliveries, it's been really, really difficult. Also integration to the platform, as the optimization system needs to have the information in a standardized way. And big postal operators, it's not easy to adapt the information from different shipments or systems, sorry, from different companies to a standardized one. But we strongly believe that all of these issues related to integrations and data protection restriction, etc., it's just a time and money problem. So this can be solved if we have these bilateral agreements that standardize or make the basis of the foundation of this collaboration. Route optimization solutions can help reduce emissions in cities, but they are quite optimized from a global point of view. This is quite current because it's highly related to the cost of the different companies. But we believe that this solution allows companies to have this opportunity to find synergies and avoid overlapping networks in some inefficient areas in a daily basis. And the solution to the problems of the cities is not unique nor simple. We believe that it will be a sum of different pieces which will be replicable in the different cities, but the combination of those pieces is unique for each area, not even city, but also area. The solution has been developed in 4 different modules, which helps to this scalability or replicability in different cities. And both city councils have found valuable insights that have contributed to better know the logistics in their cities, as they both have initiatives to continue in the future that arise from the project. So we think that we are building the foundations of smarter logistics, and the future will have to guarantee not only the regulatory compliance, but also promote sustainable logistics from an environmental, economical, and social point of view. Also being able of coexisting in balance with the rest of the elements and people in the cities, as we talk of the stakeholders in the social part. And in the next slide, last but not least, I finally would like to thank the entire team that has participated in this project that has been so complex to carry out. and in which each partner and person has made a great effort to achieve the results that we have been able to present here today. It's been a difficult road, but we have achieved it, so thank you, everybody. We would not have achieved it if were not for your dedication, search for excellence, overcoming challenges with professionalism, and always looking for the best of your projects. So I invite all of you to turn on your cameras and thank you, all of you. And Mariano, the floor is yours. I don't know if we have some questions from the audience that may arise.
Well, thanks so much, Ángela, and to all the all the speakers for explaining such a complex project like Senator in a clear way. Your insights have really helped us understand its key aspects and how it contributes to the future of a sustainable logistics. But if anyone has questions, please go ahead and write them in the chat as we now start the time for the questions and answers. As for the moment, there are no questions yet. Maybe we can break the ice, okay, with a question regarding the blockchain technology, which is a technology that we've heard in some of these presentations. So the question is, how does the Senator platform leverage blockchain technology to enhance transparency and security in urban freight logistics?
Thank you for the question. Can you hear me properly? Because I think I may have some problem with the sound.
Yes.
Okay. Yes, it's a pity I didn't provide many details because the lack of time in the presentation. But basically, we have two use cases for blockchain technologies in Senator. So the first one was to ensure the traceability of parcel between different operators. Now, one of the key ideas of Senator is this consolidation and this cooperation between different logistic operators. That this can help to reduce the distance traveled by vehicles, emissions, and so on. But there's one of the problems that we face now when we were designing this is traceability. How we ensure that let's say that we can certify that a parcel has been transferred from one operator to another, and this is legally secure, in some way. And for that, one of the use cases of the blockchain technology. I think through the app, the two operators can exchange the parcels, and then this will be, let's say, secure or registered in this blockchain technology, and then we have a way to secure and to ensure that this transaction took place. And another of the use cases is to ensure the cold chain. So I think it was another interesting use case in which for every, I think we have vehicles that have a sensor deployed to track the temperature of the items that they were delivering, and then for every measurement we register that into the let's say into the blockchain layer to ensure that the cold chain is kept along the whole logistic process.
Thank you. If there are sorry. So if there are no questions, we will wrap up the session. Thank you all for joining us today. We hope you found this webinar and the Senator project interesting. If you have any further questions or feedback, feel free to reach out. Thank you very much and have a nice day.
Thank you. And have a nice day too.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.